So, welcome to our Faith in Action Forum for this month. And thank you for taking some time in December to learn a little bit more about this topic. We are welcoming our guest, Deb Cruz, on Zoom today. Thank you so much for joining us, Deb. But first, I'm going to light a chalice. So if you want to, at home, light your chalice again, or a candle, I welcome you doing that with us. And for chalice lighting words today, I wanted to read the James Philip Blake covenant reading from our hymnal. It's reading 473. Love is the spirit of this church and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. So Deb is with us. Deb is president of JUUstice Washington and is a member of the Bellingham Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. And from there, I'm going to turn it over to you, Deb, to tell us what JUUstice Washington is.
Yay! Hi, everybody. Welcome, and I am very much an informal person, so it is permissible to laugh and giggle and crack jokes and do whatever is necessary. What I'd like to do first is read our JUUstice Washington's land acknowledgement. So we acknowledge this land is the traditional territory of the Salish peoples. Their presence is imbued in these mountains, valleys, waterways, and shorelines. May we nurture our relationship with our Salish neighbors and the shared responsibilities to their homelands where we all reside today. I'm seeing a lot of familiar names. I can't see faces, but I'm seeing familiar names of people that we've already been working with. So for those of you who are not familiar with JUUstice Washington, and it's JUUstIce. So it's justice with the UU in the middle. It is a state action network, part of the, I'm not going to say the UUA, but in the UUA sphere. And our focus is to work with congregations and their allies and partners to engage in whatever social or environmental justice work happens to be on their list of priorities or of major concern. There are, I think, about 25 other state action networks, and we basically just work with congregations within our state. JUUstice Washington is a little bit different because we already know and understand, at least given the nature of our area, that our social and environmental justice issues are not just within the state of Washington, but encompass sometimes the whole of the Pacific Northwest. So when JUUstice Washington reaches out to other congregations, it's not just the state of Washington. We reach out to Oregon. We reach out to Idaho. We reach out to Alaska and some of the other Pacific Northwest congregations. We know that, especially on environmental issues, that the Pacific Northwest is a whole. It's not just the state of Washington. We also do British Columbia, because the Pacific Northwest, there's things that happen up in British Columbia that impact all of us from Washington, Idaho, and Oregon. So a lot of the work we do does not apply just strictly to Washington state. So we work with individual congregations. We work with individuals because there are times where individuals want to become engaged in a particular social or justice issue that's not a priority within the congregation. And so what we will try to do is connect you with other people in other congregations who are also interested in that particular issue. And so we create an intercongregational effort or team. We also work to try to bridge that gap between the upper echelons of the UU world and the congregations, which is sometimes difficult. But we'll work with UUSC, which is the UUS Service Committee, or I mean Unitarian Universalist Service Committee, UUMFE, which is the UU Ministry for Earth, Side with Love, Rise, UU Rise, and a number of the other organizations, Drum, and some of these other folks that we work with to try to bring together some of the resources from up here and bring it down here where y'all have access to that. And right now we have a couple of particular areas that we have a lot of activity in, and that's our First Nations, First American Indian Nations group. And we have probably almost a dozen, I think, or at least a half a dozen, maybe a couple more congregations that have groups that are working on Indigenous issues. And so because of that, we are able to form a leads council. So probably about once a month, we get all the leads from all of the congregations in that particular area. And we get together and we talk and we figure out who's doing what, when, where, and how we can support each other in a number of the activities that we're engaged in. We would like to see the same kind of thing happen with climate justice or environmental justice and with immigration and racial justice as well, but we have not had the capacity at this point or the people to volunteer to help put those things together. We've spent the last couple of years, unfortunately, with the pandemic, the last couple of years trying to figure out what groups are working in what congregations. COVID has kind of wreaked havoc on that. So there's a building process right now going on, and people are trying to revive their justice programs. And so JUUstice Washington is here to help people do so. And it may be a little bit of a slow project, but we're there, we're here. And we're basically available to help your groups or your individuals connect and work with your whatever justice issue that you're dealing with at this point in time. And it also includes allies and partners if there's ways that you need help connecting to allies and partners, or if there's a project that you're working on that you need some assistance with, or just even to promote. We have probably about 1,000 people on our email list. So if there's an event that any of the congregations that are having that they want to have open to UU congregations and their partners and allies, then we are available to send that information out to share so that there can be more collaboration between congregations and their allies and partners. So that's the gist of it. So I'm open for questions at this point, or if there's something in particular you want me to talk about, we'll go for it.
Team, if you can tell us if there are questions online, and are there any questions here in the room for Deb? There is one in the room, so we'll go to Frank.
I've been getting your emails for a number of years. I wonder if you could make a comment on how you're funded and how you organize the group's activities for the year, because I've never really participated at that level.
Well, we'll just have to find a way to get you in there. We run off of congregational and individual donations. It's all volunteer. And when we do have our summits or some of our programs, we will ask for donations at that point in time for the that particular event. We don't require any donations at any point in time, so it's purely all volunteer as you will. As far as programming is concerned, usually pre-pandemic, we would hold what we called summits in person, and since the pandemic, on Zoom, where we would come together. Let's see, pre-pandemic, we would do a summit that covered a number of justice issues all in one day or one weekend. We would start Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday with a series of speakers and different workshops on different justice issues. Since the pandemic, we try to do the same thing on Zoom, but what we found is trying to do it all in one weekend was really problematic for lots of people. So what we do now is we call mini summits, which entails we'll hold like a Saturday morning summit based on a particular justice issue. Usually we have, an example is January, the end of January, mid-January, we'll have what we call a legislative summit, where we will get together with a bunch of our state legislators, and we'll talk about, what pieces of legislation are going to be going through, which ones we should consider endorsing, and trying to promote and push through the legislature. Then we will also do environmental justice, where we will bring in speakers on different topics, and we'll make that available to all allies and partners to come in and spend an hour and a half to 2 hours listening to panelists, and then we'll go into strategy sessions afterwards to see where people want to put their energy and how they want to put their energy into working on that particular issue. And the same with racial justice. I think last year we worked with university to present the Seattle Convergence with I can't remember his name, Chris. Well, but we'll do things like that. So we'll do those kinds of programmings as of right now. If there is a request for specific kinds of programming or speakers or whatnot, then we will try to engage in those as much as we can. Does that answer your question?
And then was there a question online? All right, let's go to one of our online people.
Oops. Oh,
so
okay.
From John Gear. Hi, Deb. Thanks for your tireless work. I appreciate it and happy to know that we have a UU voice. Is JUUstice part of the Interdenominational Faith Action Network?
What do we mean? The State Action Network? FAN? Is that the question?
Yes, the FAN.
We are not a member of it, but we work real closely with FAN on a number of issues, especially when we come to legislature, because we look to FAN to see where they're going, especially on the economic justice issues that have to do with health and health and welfare, those kinds of things. We will work with Earth Ministry, or we work a lot with Earth Ministry on legislative issues having to do with just the environment. FAN, we work with on their interfaith network for Indigenous communities. We'll meet together, I think it's once every 2 months, and all of us will get together and talk about what kinds of activities and actions we're engaged with as far as the Indigenous communities are concerned. Earth Ministry does a lot of work with us, both in the legislature and outside the legislature, because right now we're also working real heavily with the breaching the Snake River dams effort. So we're working with a number of coalitions, working to get those dams breached for our tribes and salmon and orcas. And let's see what else. Yeah, so I know Elise real well. We've been working together for a long time. Earth Ministry has we've been working with for a long time too. Several years before the pandemic.
So our other question is also from John. Is JUUstice Washington legally not covered by the non-political restrictions of a 501c3 church exempt status, i.e. can we be involved in candidate politics?
No. We are a 501c3, but we also have a 501ch delegation where we can do more work on political and legislative issues, but we're still under the same 501c3 where we can't engage with politics. It's promoting and endorsing candidates. We can talk with and engage with legislators on talking about specific issues and topics and pieces of legislation, but we can't get involved in raising money for their campaigns or any kind of activity regarding their campaigns for office.
Thank you. All right, any other questions? Oh, yep. Where was the other hand? Okay.
Hi, Deb, it's Reverend Mary. Thank you so much for being with us today, and thank you for the work that you do. So there are a number of us, including John and I, who get the JUUstice Washington emails. I know Reverend Sarah does as well, and as we see events, we share them with our congregation. So I'm wondering if you have suggestions about ways that we can engage more deeply with JUUstice Washington, both as individuals and as a congregation.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Yeah, number one, I need board members. We need a few more bodies. If you have a particular passion within a specific justice issue that you'd like to see if you can collaborate with other congregations on, you're more than welcome to let me know. There's so many areas that we could be working together on that we don't have formal relationships with each other on. And unfortunately, we can't do everything all by ourselves. So it'd be nice if we could have some conveners step up. If there were people who wanted to take on the environmental justice, or if there's somebody who wants to take on the LGBTQ issues and try to work collaboratively across congregations and within the region. Reproductive rights. There's a whole swath of issues that if anybody's interested in it and wants to work on a regional or even just a state basis or even a cluster within a specific area of the state, to let me know, because it would be really great if we could have some additional people working on building those connections between congregations and developing resources. So those are the two things that I can think of off the top of my head. And if you have something, you have a program that you want to get out there, or if you want to be engaged in a particular area to let me know. We've got a number of big things coming up in May. We've got the tribal canoe journey. It's the unofficial one that we're going to be working with British Columbia on, because one of the First Nations is going to be hosting it up there. So, and there's still going to be stops along the way, so there will be a canoe journey. It just won't be the real big splashy one. We have another canoe journey happening down in down along the Snake River with Palouse. So we'll be trying to gather together people to help coordinate, plan, and get that show on the road. We have Gathering of the Eagles coming up. And December 15th is when we're going to be getting the court case ruling, or the court's ruling on the Snake River dams. And so there's going to be a lot of footwork to do to get the breaching of the Snake River dams up and running. And so there's a lot of stuff going on. So any way that you want to jump in, if you've got an idea, holler, and we'll see what we can do. But the best thing, if I can get some more people to kind of pick up in some of the areas that we haven't been able to get off the ground yet, that would be really great. Okay, besides,
And I see we have a question in the chat. Besides these gatherings, is organizing protests a part of this overall process?
it could be. It could be if you decide that you want to do a protest. If there's a particular issue. We don't have any staff right now. So I've got a part-time person who's helping me with some administrative stuff. So I don't have staff people to, that's it. If you somebody wants to be an admin staff, that would be great too. So we need people out there from you to show an interest and to help with coordinating these kinds of things. I know East Shore does their flash dances. But as far as protests are concerned, no, we don't have anything. I don't have anybody organizing anything. But if you want to organize one, then you need to let me know, and we'll see what we can do about putting one together. But I kind of need somebody else to take the lead on some of the other things outside of the Snake River and the indigenous. Does that make sense?
Back to, thanks. Thank you all for your patience, the back and forth. We have to coordinate. Any other questions in the room or online for Deb? Susan, yes.
Deb, also thanks for all your work. And I'm just wondering, what are some of the climate issues that other congregations are working on? I know you'd like to see some coordination, so I'm just curious what seems to be sparking in other congregations.
I don't have a sense of that yet. What I do have a sense of is that there are a number of congregations who are kind of starting lower level and trying to get their green sanctuary certifications done. And so there's focus on those. But I have not gotten a whole lot of feedback outside of the Snake River dams, the climate issues relating to the Snake River dams on that. It would be great to see folks interested in the wildfire issues. It would be great to see folks get interested in the impacts of climate change on like our migrant farm workers and things of those natures. But I haven't seen or heard anybody yet come up with a specific issue that they're focusing on. So if you got one.
Wonderful. Yeah, any other questions here or online? None online, okay. Anybody here?
Can I ask, can we go around the room and find out who's interested, who's got a passion for what issue? I won't take your name down, I promise. But I'm curious to hear where your passions lie as far as social or environmental justice issues is concerned.
Let's do that vocally here in the room, and then if you're online and you'd like to put it in the chat, go ahead and do that. Or if you want to wait and have a chance to be called on to speak online also. But we'll just start here in the room and go around.
I am especially interested in social justice for people of color. That's a subject that I've been studying within this congregation for a couple of years now, and I think it is, for me, a priority in the country.
Thank you.
Hi, Deb, I'm Beth, and thank you for all you are doing. I'm interested actually in environment and social justice.
Anything in particular?
And I'm Susan O'Connor, and climate change is my top issue.
Hi, Deb. Thank you. And it seems to me, having met with this group before the pandemic, that it's sort of in a state where you're trying to reorganize again and get things moving. I don't know if that's actually true, but I wish you the best with that. And I'm working actively in healthcare and income equality, and also foreign aid, so that it goes to places where it is very helpful and used well. So I'm busy with that, but I'm interested in also participating somewhat with the justice for people of color and learning more about the climate change.
Hi, Deb. My name's Steve. I came here today to learn, and you've done a very good job, and I thank you.
No issue, huh? Nothing that grabs your heart?
Hello, I'm Tiffany Felch, and I am aware of the intersectionality between environment, anti-racism, anti-fascism, anti-capitalism,
Yeah.
and I'm here just to hear what's going on, and also I'm present to just the incredible need within our country, and burnout prevention is part of all of this, right? That's foundational to be able to show up for any of the above topics. Yeah, so I think all of them.
Hi, I'm concerned about all of the above, all the things we've talked about, but particularly about the climate crisis that's barreling down the way at us. And most recently, the urban interface code that was supposed to be passed about taking out all of our trees, basically, so they couldn't burn, which
Yep.
I found absolutely horrifying. And the environmental action team at this church has been active in trying to figure out what we can do about that. So that's a big one for me.
Well, hi, Deb. I'm pleased to see that the two environmental issues that are top for me, being the Snake River Dam removal and then the climate change, are already on your list. So I say, keep on.
Hello, Deb. My name is Otto, and I'm interested in the big picture, solving the big problems, planetary justice, social justice, environmental justice. It's all interconnected, as we all know. I'm interested in the mental processes of those in power, how they make their decisions on doing X, Y, and Z. That's important to know, and very important to know of how these people come to power. They are supported. All the dictators in the past never came to power by themselves. There's a group of people that support their points of view. So I'm interested in finding root causes of problems, and it's really distressing when, I think I'll stop now, thank you.
Hi, Deb. I'm Pam Turner, and thank you very much for all the work that you've done and are doing. My main interest is making the world livable for future generations, and my main concern is climate change and the ability to have enough water so people can survive.
Hi, Deb, I'm Frank Turner, and my personal issue is healthcare reform. So that's number one. Number two, I'm on the environmental action team here at this church, but I have been away for the last 3 months. I'm not really up to date. However, I know they've had a number of specific, first of all, we've tried to identify partner organizations to work with, and I believe you guys are on our list, but we need to close that loop. And we work also with the Thurston Climate Action Team, and we work with Earth Ministry, although I haven't, they haven't had much presence down here. And there's a local organization called, it's the one we're supporting with our Share the Plate offering. It's the only environmental or, anyway. So we've got, and then one or two of our members have interest in defunding energy projects that don't, involve, and we're trying to take the money away from fossil fuel programs. I think some communication between our environmental action team and your organization would be useful.
Just want to thank you for all this information. I'm most interested in social justice, income equality, and housing. It was 25 years ago this month that my 4-month-old and 2-year-old ended up in long-term women's shelter for 2 years. So that topic is very near and dear.
Hi, my name's Julie, and I grew up on the Olympic Peninsula, and I'm just frantic about glaciers. When the glaciers melt, which I hope they don't do in my lifetime, I don't have that many years left, but it's getting fast. There are no rivers on the Olympic Peninsula if we don't have glaciers. That's it. And on the Elwha River, they took the dams out, and incredibly, after almost 100 years, fish came back the very next year. So let's go for the snake. I mean, wow.
Thank you to those in the room. And then if folks have put things in the chat, can we see that? So we have interested in everything and taking part in the criminal justice reform book study group that Rupert Aden is running at the state level. Probably the biggest sleeper justice issue I am studying up on and trying to engage with is reforming urban planning and zoning rules that creates housing affordability crisis and homelessness, prioritizing cars and parking over people and making it impossible for young adults to get a start, while also aggregating climate problems. And then we have indigenous justice and climate change and social justice. I have been personally affected by wildfire, so that hits close.
Yep. So, Patricia,
And we have a raised
Rita?
hand online. So yes, let's go to the raised hand.
Go ahead, Connie.
I'm particularly interested in economic justice and current legislation and upcoming legislation that will act at a policy level to make little or big changes that will affect a lot of people. Thank you. And I appreciate the policy action aspect of your program, and particularly FANS, Faith Action Networks, for access to the ability to influence legislation with just a few clicks of our fingers on a computer keyboard. Thank you.
We have been working with Take Action Network, which is Indivisible's program to help connect people with contacting legislators on specific kinds of issues. We are in the process of converting our CRM over to Every Action, which is going to allow us to do very much the same thing without having to go outside of JUUstice Washington and the UU world. So we'll see how that goes. It's not going to happen for this legislative section, but hopefully next legislative session, we'll be able to start doing our own petitions and UU letters and comments and things like that to go to legislators and to other places as well. We have not had that capacity at this point.
Thank you. Yes, so just a little plug here for folks at OUC. If you are not getting the emails and alerts, if you don't get JUUstice Washington's emails, or if you want to just find out what's happening with Faith in Action actions here that you can be part of, we do have an opt-in group in our Realm system, which is our directory and congregational software. So you can opt into the Faith in Action alert list, and then you'll get notified when there are local actions, or we also repost the legislative actions from JUUstice Washington and other organizations that you can, with a click of a finger, participate in that process. So if you have not opted into that alert list, the only commitment you're making is just to getting more emails. So it's a pretty low barrier, but it is that.
Well, unfortunately, it's hard to communicate about different kinds of things without engaging in email. So I would suggest or ask that you be a little more tolerant of emails coming through, because sometimes that's the only means that we have to get the information across about upcoming events and actions and things like that. I know the inboxes can get really overwhelmed. I know.
Yes, they can. And there's just so much to pay attention to. So thank you for putting together those emails for us, Deb. Any other questions, comments, folks in the room or online?
So I guess the question I would have, if nobody else has any, is what is it that you need that would help you become more actively involved in justice work?
Does anybody have an answer for that? What is it that you need in order to become more engaged in justice work? Is there anything? All right, we've got one in the room.
I need better computer skills.
Better computer skills was listed there. Yeah, some of that stuff becomes a barrier. Yeah. We have quit my day job. Thank you, yes. Any other? All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and wrap us up, and just thank you so much, Deb. Thank you for all that you do to bring our congregations together to work on justice within Washington and the whole Pacific Northwest. It is just so important, and it's amazing that JUUstice Washington continues to be volunteer-led and run and get as much done as we can for this important work. So thank you. If you'd all just join me in waving, thanking, virtual clapping.
Thank you all.
And thank you all for taking some time on this Sunday to attend to this important work. With that, I will extinguish our chalice, the flame that represents our commitment, our faith, but let us carry it in our hearts as we go forth to continue doing all that we do together. Blessed be.